Now available in paperback and e-readers, The Legendary Mad Matilda. Get the conclusion to the Spinsterella trilogy at online booksellers today. I was watching a Mr. Superboy 223 video, and he was talking about this buck dancing, bojangling Negro who decided to write an article regarding the whole Harvey Weinstein scandal and the sexual harassment scandals in Hollywood, asking the question, what about the black men? And this is another article by one of these buck dancing, bojangling Negroes in the same vein as that article proposing that black men are the new white men in America. And it's mostly these buck dancing, bojangling Negroes looking to get crumbs from the master's table and looking to get attention from their white slave masters. And that's why they write articles like this. Now, this guy is writing this article hoping to recruit and rally black women into this whole Me Too movement where these black women will come in and join alongside these white women in Hollywood making all these allegations of sexual harassment, but they want them to make these allegations of sexual harassment against black men in the same way that these white women are making these allegations against these white men and these Jewish men. However, anyone who understands the entertainment business and the racism in the entertainment business understands that black men do not have the economic power in Hollywood, nor do they have the influence in Hollywood like white men do. So the whole argument that black men are participating in sexual harassment and sexual assaults like these white men in Hollywood, that doesn't wash because again, when it comes down to Hollywood, Hollywood is white controlled and Jewish controlled, and they control all the economic power and they have all the influence in Hollywood. And most of the women who go to Hollywood go and chase after those white men and those Jewish men in Hollywood. When it comes down to Hollywood, there aren't any big black moguls that are heterosexual primarily these days. And those who do have any power is given to them by those white and Jewish men. So anybody saying that, oh, there's black men who participate in this behavior, no, those black men who are in Hollywood right now, they're on a very short leash and they know where their bread is buttered. So they really watch themselves when they're out here in this entertainment business. They know one wrong step and they can be kicked out by their white and Jewish slave masters, and they'll be scrapping for begging for any change they can get from any sort of independent production because the real money, again, is in the hands of white and Jewish men. And when it comes down to those white and Jewish men, the issue is between them and their white women because when it comes down to all of this sexual harassment and alleged sexual assaults that transpire in Hollywood, Washington, and the big news media, primarily these are the power players in the game. Black men don't have any sort of real power as it relates to anything. Those black men who did have power, like your Robert Townsend and your Bill Cosby, these guys were usually smaller players in the game, and usually they had to go to whites and Jews in order to get distribution of their projects. Yes, they could get projects made back in the day, but they couldn't really get anything distributed unless they had those white liberals helping them out. So to say that they had some sort of power to have any sort of influence with women, no, that's not the case at all. And most actresses, black actresses, know that these guys really didn't have that much power to begin with because again, when it comes down to Hollywood, the real power is concentrated in white and Jewish hands. It's not concentrated in black hands, and black men do not have that kind of power. Guys like Bill Cosby and Quincy Jones, yes, they are very wealthy, but they don't have the power to go out here and get things distributed. They can get things made, but they can't get things distributed. And most actresses know that the opportunities there are extremely limited. And most black actresses really wouldn't want to get involved with this whole Harvey Weinstein scandal and the scandals involving most of these media outlets primarily because when it comes down to these white women have made every effort to stab them in the back in the entertainment business. When it comes down to the black woman in Hollywood, she is the lowest person on the totem pole. And oftentimes she is denied access to opportunities primarily because of many of these white women and the things that they do behind the scenes. Because when you listen to one of these chicks like Rose McGowan sitting there complaining and talking about sexual harassment, she's full of crap, because this is these are many of these white females go out of their way to sabotage black actresses, undermine black actresses, and deny black actresses opportunities. And they do this in many different ways. And one of them I talked about in my book All About Marilyn is that they go out here and they steal scripts. This is one of the things that they do. They'll see a good script written by a black screenwriter, they'll go and buy that script, and then they'll go hire someone to go rewrite that script for them. That's one of the things that they do. The other thing that they do is that they get in the face of these producers and they show their assets to this producer, and they try to use their feminine wiles to charm this guy into giving them parts that in many cases were written for black actresses. So any black woman who rallies to the side of these white females is not a very smart black woman or smart black actress. And she's not smart because, again, these white actresses have gone out of their way to undercut them, undermine them, and sabotage them, and deny them opportunities at getting quality roles and getting regular work. The reason why the black actress is at the bottom of the totem pole is primarily due to these white females in Hollywood making efforts to oppress them. This is why we don't see black actresses getting many lead roles and many of them getting good projects, even though many black actresses like Angela Bassett, Sally Richardson, Tia Mowry, and many others are extremely talented and can play these roles, but they never get a chance to actualize their potential because two-bit actresses like Rose McGowan and many others use their behinds to get the attention of these producers, and they use their behinds to deny those black females opportunities. And the whole thing about this guy talking about what about the black men in Hollywood and what about black people in Hollywood, this has nothing to do with us. Again, this primarily has something to do between this white man and this white woman, and it mirrors what really happened with the feminist movement back in the 60s. Now, back in the 60s, you had these white feminists sitting there talking about how their man was oppressing them and how their man was doing them dirty, and they wanted to bring black women into the argument, not understanding that the whole issues that black women have were completely different than those of white women. And they told black women this lie that these black men were oppressing them. Unfortunately, that was a complete and utter lie, and most black women bought into it because they wanted to be like white women. And they wanted to get the whole advantages of white women. They wanted to get the privileges of white women. So they bought into the lie saying that black men were oppressing them when black men had no real power to oppress anyone. Black men could not write laws in this country that could create policy to say that women were denied certain opportunities with government laws. Black men did not have economic power where they could write policies at a business to deny women opportunities at certain jobs. Black men had no real power in American society, and when it came down to the black man, he had the least power in American society. But many black women, drinking the Kool-Aid of these white feminists and believing their ideas, bought into it, and then sided with the feminist movement in the hopes of getting money out of the welfare state that was being established by white liberals. However, there is no money in this for black women as it relates to Hollywood and many of these jobs out here, because again, white women will make efforts to undermine and oppress black women, and have made efforts to undermine and oppress black women in Hollywood and in places like the news media and in places like these congressional offices and these other jobs. Whenever it comes down to a black woman trying to get these opportunities through merit, oftentimes it's a white female making efforts to sabotage her and making efforts to try to keep her from getting access to those resources. And this is what it's really all about as it relates to these white women. When it comes down to these white women and these allegations of sexual harassment in Hollywood, in the news media, and in places like Washington. This is all about them making a desperate effort to get attention for themselves and to get resources for themselves, because we have a large pool of white females who are over 30 and who are in a lot of debt, and who are, a lot of them are struggling. And because they do not have the economic resources or access to economic resources, what these women want to do is make themselves into some sort of victim in the hopes of getting resources out of white men. They know that their time has passed, they have hit the wall, and they don't have access to resources, and they can't use their bodies to get access to the same resources and the same financial lifestyle they had over the years. So they want to try to get one last desperate grab at the top of the tree that they monkey branch to, and now they're hoping that using this whole sexual harassment victim mentality will get them some crumbs from these rich white and Jewish men. They're hoping that this will lead to them getting paid and being able to take care of themselves in their old age. Really, what it is about is that these females have squandered their youth, squandered their resources, and now they're making a desperate pitch to try to get some money out of these guys, because they know that they cannot get married in many cases, and that the pool of beta males who used to support them, that pool is shrinking and drying up. They can't get by on their looks, and they don't have any real skills. So they come out here with these allegations of sexual harassment against these men in the hopes of getting crumbs from them. And they want to try to recruit black women into this whole controversy in hopes of bolstering their numbers in the same way the white feminist movement hoped to bolster their numbers by using black women. And then after the white feminists like Gloria Steinem used black women, they gave them welfare crumbs while they took cake from these rich white men through affirmative action jobs and settlements they got in lawsuits. I say to black women, don't let these white feminists fool you this time, and don't let these white women fool you this time one more again, because again, these were the same white women who went out of their way to deny black actresses opportunities at roles, opportunities at projects, and opportunities to advance their careers. But now that they can't get any opportunities to advance themselves, now they're mad at these white men, and they want to bring black women into the fold to join them in their movement. And this movement has nothing to do with black women, because black men in Hollywood do not have the power to oppress anyone, just like black men did not have the power to oppress any black women during the 1960s, because black men do not control studios. We are not studio executives. We are not anybody with any sort of executive power to get a project greenlit. In most cases, when it comes down to guys like your Robert Townsends, your Bill Dukes, your Spike Lees, these guys made their projects primarily through their own money and their own credit cards. So most of these guys were scraping by, and most of these actresses knew that these guys were struggling, and they worked right alongside those guys towards helping them make their projects, because their projects were the only way they got work. The only way they got work was through black men. And for them to say that, oh, the black men were oppressing them, again, that argument does not wash, because in order for that argument to wash, it would mean that these black men would have to have some sort of economic power, like your Harvey Weinstein and many of these other men in Hollywood, and they would have to have that type of influence. And no black entertainer has that kind of influence. So I look at that whole argument made by this buck dancing Negro, and it just isn't anything valid. He's sitting there saying, what about the black men? Well, all the black men in Hollywood wound up getting oppressed by those white and Jewish men in Hollywood. They were denied opportunities on the regular. They were denied the opportunity to get projects greenlit by these white men. And now karma is coming back to those white men in the face of their own white woman, who has slapped them in the face in spite of him making these covert deals to give her all the privileges she wants and giving her all the opportunities she wants, because this white female sees that she is getting older. She sees that she's no longer the center of attention. She sees that she can no longer get access to resources. And now she wants to put the full force of gynocentrism on these white men through her feminist soldiers and hopes of begging them for some resources by making herself out to be the victim. This is all between this white man and this white woman and has absolutely nothing to do with black women at all or black people in the entertainment business. When it comes down to the black entertainment business, no one in black Hollywood has the power to oppress anyone. No, and when it comes down to these so-called sexual harassment allegations, no black woman will really benefit in any sort of way, because when it comes down to many of those black women who are a major part of the A-list in Hollywood, they get their resources from white men, and they don't want to bite the hand that feeds them, nor do they want to betray the God that they serve. So they're not going to say much of anything against these white guys because they're getting crumbs from the table. But the white women, they know that their time is up, and now they want to try to bring some black women in to be soldiers to fight along their side. But again, this is not their fight, and they need to stay out of this mess, because when these white women say "me too," they don't mean you, black woman. So they're not talking about black women in the same way the white feminists never talked about the black woman, or the white suffragists talked about the black woman. And black women just need to stay out of it and leave this one between that white man and that white woman. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to read some of my men's issues books, like the Simp series, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.